The 2026 World Cup is about to begin, but who is going to win it? Everyone tries to predict it, but I've decided to leave it to the computers. To be exact, the Football Manager 26. In this video, we're going to simulate the 2026 World Cup 100 times and see who is the most likely to win the trophy. What are your predictions for this experiment? Let me know in the comments below. My predictions for the top 4 are Brazil, Argentina, France and Spain. And with everything covered, let's begin. Thanks to Football Manager's newest update, international football is finally available. And what's more, you can just play out the World Cup with fixed groups. I would like to point out though that I'm recording this video before another update with final World Cup squads, so there may be some differences compared to the lineups we'll see in the US, Mexico and Canada. However, we still should get results we can easily base our predictions on. So I guess, let's begin simulating the first World Cup. It's the very first simulation and we already have a new winner. After losing out on 3 finals in real life, the Netherlands finally lifted the World Cup trophy in the very first simulation, mind you, by the way. Is there anything that would shock us all? Canada in the semi-final and Colombia finished third. That's already a wild World Cup. Who's been dropped in the group stages? That's the question. Mexico, Qatar. Spain is out in the groups with Saudi Arabia. Cape Verde won their group. It's already absolute cinema happening here. Ousmane Dembele scored 10 goals in a single World Cup. And France won the entire thing over Argentina in a successful revenge for 2022. They've won in the 93rd minute. Who's got the third place? Norway. So Erling Haaland carried Norway and they won over the host nation. That is again something massive. I mean, that is quite an interesting World Cup, especially with Norway getting third. Third simulation and Netherlands do it again. The Dutch have 2 World Cup wins already. Third place playoff, Brazil versus Belgium. This is pretty typical, I wanna say. That was genuinely the South American derby and a half, if you ask me. Okay, enough spoilers. I have simulated 97 other World Cups, and it's finally time for you to subscribe to my channel. And also reveal the results, of course. I will, but you could subscribe first. We will determine the most likely winner using a simple point system. Every time a team advances to the round of 32, it will get 1 point. If it goes to the round of 16, that's 2 points. A quarterfinal is worth 4 points, the 4th place is worth 6, 3rd is 8, reaching the final is 10, and winning the whole thing is 12. Whoever collects the most points is the winner, I guess. And with that, let's reveal the results. We will start from the bottom of the list, and we'll go up all the way to the team with most points. The absolutely worst team in those simulations was Jordan. The only time we've seen them in the knockouts was in simulation 73, in which Spain narrowly knocked them out in the round of 32. Just ahead of them are Haiti, who made 2 knockout appearances and barely got away from last place in simulation 99. Now, we've got 2 teams with 5 points. The worst one is Curaçao, who made it 5 times to the round of 32. Iraq finished right ahead, because in simulation 70, they even went past Switzerland in extra time and could play in the round of 16. In 44th is Qatar, who made the knockouts 12 times, 5 of which was a round of 16. 2 points ahead of them is Tunisia, who reached the round of 16 4 times. Then, we've got 3 teams on 21 points. None of them made it past the round of 16, and starting from the lowest place, they're Iran, Uzbekistan and Panama. The tiebreaker? The amount of appearances in the round of 16. Iran only went there once, the Uzbeks were there 3 times, and Panama was there 4 times. Cape Verde is 39th with 38 points. 2 of the simulations ended up with this tiny nation going all the way to the quarterfinal. Australia, on the other hand, was there only once, but they appeared in the knockouts way more often and so collected more points. But maybe they needed 1 more quarterfinal. That's right, Saudi Arabia finished 1 point ahead of the Socceroos because of the 2 quarterfinal appearances. This wasn't enough for New Zealand though. The Kiwis only went once to the quarters, but they made it to the knockouts half the time, and so they're 36th. On 35th and 34th are Bosnia and DR Congo with 82 points each. The difference between these two? Bosnia finished 4th on 2 occasions, but DR Congo went all the way to the final in simulation 22, where they lost out to England. Mexico is 33rd with 86 points. What stopped them from going any higher is that they never reached the final 4. Paraguay, on the other hand, was 4th once and finished with 92 points in total. South Africa finished right ahead because they won the 3rd place playoff on 1 occasion. South Korea is in the top 30. Just like Mexico, they never reached the final 4, but they can say they were in the quarters 4 times. Ghana is 29th. nothing past the quarters again, but they had a chance of going further on 6 occasions. And now it's time for the first World Cup winner. According to the simulation, 18 teams have a chance of World Cup glory. The first one? Morocco, who won over Japan in Simulation 12. The Moroccans also reached one more final in Simulation 37, but they could not defeat France. It wasn't enough for Senegal, who finished 27th and 2 points ahead. They also won one World Cup, Simulation 75 over Germany, and lost one final, Simulation 15 against France. However, both nations were overtaken by Turkey, who finished 26th, and Turkey's biggest success is one 4th place early on in Simulation 7. Croatia finished on 25th. That's a pretty disappointing result for them, knowing that the Croats were in the final in 2018 and finished 3rd in 2022. But in this experiment, the nation only finished 4th on 4 occasions, so there is still hope for something to happen. They finished level on points of Ecuador, except Ecuador is ahead because they actually won the World Cup in Simulation 44 over France. It still wasn't enough for Algeria. The Algerians finished 23rd, even though they only have one final to their name. The final they lost to Germany in Simulation 89. On the 22nd, there's Czechia. With one win, one final and one 3rd place, the Czechs collected 174 points. And because Poland did not make it to the tournament at all, I'm rooting for our neighbors to deliver a result. Egypt is 21st with 177 points. With one win and one more final, which happened in 2 consecutive simulations by the way, they finished ahead of the Czechs thanks to more quarterfinal appearances. But they're not the best African team in this experiment. That title belongs to Ivory Coast, who are 20th with 183 points, despite never winning the whole thing. However, with 4 finals and 2 more 3rd places, there's a fair chance the Ivorians deliver a story to remember for their nation. 19th is Austria, whose best achievement is 2 3rd places and 5 4th places. Then we have Sweden with 198 points. Twice the Swedes went to the final and won neither. They also were 3rd once and were 4th on 4 occasions. On the 17th, we have the best Asian nation. That nation is Japan, who have a chance of becoming the first country from that continent to win the medal. 3 finals and 2 3rd places are an evidence of that possibility. Uruguay is 16th. They only missed out on the knockouts 5 times, and that's what puts them ahead of the Japanese despite only 2 finals and 4 3rd places. And now it's time for the top 15, to which Scotland just broke into. The Scots really love to win some tournaments out of nowhere, and this time around they lifted the World Cup trophy twice, with 3 more finals and 4 3rd places. That still wasn't enough for Canada. The co-hosts have not won the World Cup once, but they still went to the final twice. Once they finished 3rd, but they're also an unlucky nation. They lost the 3rd place playoff on 9 occasions. Despite a very strong start, as you've seen at the start of this video, Netherlands finished on lowly 13th. After the World Cup wins, the Dutch only saw the final twice more and got 1 bronze. That's quite underwhelming. And it was enough for Colombia to overtake the Dutch. What the Colombians needed was 2 wins, 2 finals and 4 3rd places. The United States finished this experiment on the 11th, and that's despite never winning the tournament, with 4 losses in the final and 4 3rd places. And finally, it's time for the top 10. In the top 10, every single country tasted the World Cup glory at least once. And by once, I mean once in the case of Germany, who finished in 10th. In the 288 points they collected, there's only 1 World Cup win, and 8 finals that they lost. That is an abysmal conversion rate. On the 9th we have Portugal. The GOAT debate may truly return if the Portuguese win it, as they did so on 2 occasions, with 3 more finals and 6 more 3rd places. But somehow this wasn't enough for Switzerland on 8th. The Swiss also won twice, but they also lost 6 finals. However, they've been consistently reaching the latter stages, and I won't be surprised if they do the same in real life. Lionel Messi and Argentina on 7th only have a 1% chance of defending the World Cup trophy according to the simulation. There's also a 7% chance for the final, and 8% chance for the 3rd place, and 7% chance for the 4th. We have to stop here for a second though, because while I was looking for some goals for the background footage, I stumbled upon this. What have I just seen? Lionel Messi with a literal goal of the century. Messi, right-footed volley top corner. I mean absolute banger, cinema. But But, there is a nation who is often talked about as the potential underdog of this year's World Cup. However, according to this simulation, they should actually be one of the favorites for a medal. That nation is Norway. In their first appearance since 1998, the Norwegians could write a piece of history. 5 times they won, 7 times they lost in the final, and there's also 4 third places. One man is hugely responsible for this result, more on that later in the video. Brazil is the nation that broke into the top 5. Canarinhos won the World Cup 5 times, with 8 more finals and 5 more third places. Just like Belgium in 4th place, they only missed out on the knockouts once. But somehow, Belgium is ahead despite only 2 wins and 3 finals. What definitely helped is that the Belgians went to the 3rd place playoff 20 times, winning 13 of them. And so they're only 3 points ahead of Brazil. On the lowest step of the podium, we've got Spain. Funnily enough, they also took part in 23rd place playoff, but had a much better conversion rate, winning 17 of them. On top of that, the Spaniards also went to 12 finals and won 6 of them. And now, it's time for the top 2. The 2 nations that absolutely dominated this experiment. The only 2 nations that appeared in the knockouts every single time. But I also think one of those 2 nations dominated the other as well. So, let's find out. With 601 points, England finished this experiment in 2nd. 21 wins, 11 more finals, 8 third places suggests the Three Lions have an extremely high chance of bringing football home. But that still wasn't enough for France. It was nowhere near enough for France. The French collected 779 points. These include finishing 3rd 7 times, losing 11 finals, but also winning 44 times. Can you imagine? There's nearly half a chance that Leblanc bring the World Cup trophy home. Will Kylian Mbappe be in the greatest of all time debate if he leads the French to the win? I think that even though he won't be the GOAT, he will definitely be in the conversation for the greatest player of this generation without a single doubt. And since I started talking about Kylian, I guess it's time to look at some individual stats from this experiment. We're starting off with the top scoring charts. Some of you may know that Just Fontaine holds the record of most goals scored in the single World Cup. He scored 13 goals for France back in 1958. Why am I talking about this? There's a chance that this record would be beaten this year. In 2 of the simulations, it was equaled, and in 8 of them, it was beaten. The absolute record belongs to Harry Kane, who scored 19 goals in simulation 29. But Harry is not the most likely top scorer. He only collected 7 golden boots and is 4th in this race. Third is Kylian Mbappe, who became a top scorer 8 times, and on 2nd there's Romelu Lukaku with 14 wins. But the man who absolutely stole the show is Erling Haaland. This man is genuinely under pressure for this year's tournament, because he became a top scorer 35 times. And he also equaled or broke Fontaine's record on 5 occasions. When it comes to most assists, the man who won this race the most times is England's Bukayo Saka. He made the most key passes 10 times. In 2nd place we've got Kylian Mbappe with 9 wins, and Lamine Yamal is 3rd with 8. And in terms of the clean sheets, the goalkeeper with the highest chance of winning the Golden Glove is Mike Maignan. The Frenchman became the best keeper in 23 simulations, 17 of which ended up with wins. Jordan Pickford is 2nd with 13 wins, and he's just ahead of Unai Simon on 3rd, who got the most clean sheets 12 times. Also, shout out to Gregor Kobel of Switzerland, who won this thing 10 times. So, what do you make of this experiment? Who do you think is actually going to win the 2026 World Cup? And which nation is going to surprise us in either way? Let me know in the comments down below. I also hope you enjoyed this video, and if that's the case, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll be very grateful for that. You may also check out the video that is on your screen right now. Whatever video YouTube chooses for you to watch, that's what I hope you will enjoy.